we have Amit Kumar Jain. Amit, a lot of you would know, we've been working together for 2 years now. He's an advisor to SRISHTI. He's an independent art culture manager with previous experience and expertise in museum and collection management, auctions and appraisals, gallery strategies and acquisitions, as well as private collection management. Previously, he has been the head of exhibitions at the Museum of Art Photography MAP Bengaluru, Associate Vice President at Saffronart, New Delhi and Mumbai, Director Special Initiatives at the Devi Foundation for the Arts in New Delhi, and Head of Programs at the Devi Art Foundation in New Delhi. So he brings in a perspective. I haven't added that he's a massive collector as well. So he brings in the perspective of a collector and a curator. And he's coming from Delhi for this talk.
Okay, so as Devi mentioned, we all come from a point of privilege. What my Instagram handle is the middle class collector, which is a bit on the opposite side. So let me first tell you how that happened. So I come from a middle class family. I mean, we had to work really hard. My parents had to work very hard for me to even think of collecting art. Luckily, from one side of the family, the collection is in the blood. So maybe I couldn't leave it completely and had to think of what to buy and how to buy it. And what Devi mentioned, and I would like to add to that, that most of my collection is prints, because that is what the idea was. It's affordable. It's all handmade. When I talk about prints, it's all handmade. But there are limited editions of, say, 10, 15, 20. I usually don't go beyond that because I like to stick to a limited edition. But that becomes much more affordable for someone who has no budget or who's trying to basically still fulfill the dream of being a collector.
Sorry, Amit, can you just explain what prints are, if people here know?
So prints are basically that black and white work behind you there is a print, and they come in different forms of, there's something called an etching, which is done on an etching plate. There's a woodcut, which basically the artist will scrape off the wood and then take a reverse print on it. Very, very laborious ways of practicing art, much more at times when you're painting, I would say, with no offense. But I just thought, but just to add to that is when I was studying art, when I was doing my undergrad, I wanted to be a printmaker as well. But very soon the economics of it realized that there's no money in being a printmaker that time. Forget being an artist. Even art in 2000, I graduated in 2001. Even art was not a market. Now we all call it an art market because it's an ecosystem which flourishes with auction results, with galleries doing very well and stuff like that. So I think moved to prints very quickly because I'm also trying to fulfill a dream in me, which was to be a printmaker, and I could never do that because I very quickly realized I suck at making art, so might as well buy it and live with it. And so that's how it all started. So the middle class collector wasn't my initial handle, it was something else. But then one day I woke up and thinking that I'm struggling so much to buy art and I want to live with it. And I live with it like Devi lives. I mean, in my case, the walls are white, not colored. I mean, and every single inch of that wall is covered with whatever I own. So I have a rule in life that if it's not on my wall, it's not worth it. So why don't you gift that away or sell it off or whatever? And a lot of people say, oh, collectors should not sell, but I don't believe in that. I think everybody should rotate the art collection. It's only a way to move forward. So yeah, so we can move on, and I'll talk about this is a period of my life from, say, 2014 to, say, 2000, maybe even till current. The last work is on that. And so this is a moment when I was going through a period of abstraction. Maybe I was trying to figure out who I am. Maybe I was trying to get into midlife crisis with spirituality. I'm not that old as Javid thinks. He's only a few years younger. Since my career started at Devi Art Foundation, my job has been to look for young, cool artists in terms of these could be the next big thing. This is what my life is. I find talent. In a jokingly way, some people may understand, I call myself the Jerry Maguire of the art world. Basically, find the sports talent guy and pick them up and make them stars. That's what I do. I fail. So I met this guy called Yudhishthir Maharjan, who's a Nepalese artist living in America. And I was doing a show on book art, which is again a very, very, I would say, sits on the periphery of art market where people don't understand if it's art or a book or whatnot, but book objects in a way. And I met this guy he doesn't have social media, so it's very difficult to trace him. And I spend most of my time on Instagram to discover art. And then I met him, and I just fell in love with a very simple work like this, which is called Acknowledgement. Now, the reason I bought it, I think I was going through a phase where I was feeling I was not being acknowledged in my own profession. I had ideas in my life which I wanted to curate. When I would go and take those ideas to my bosses, people won't respond to it. But when I saw this work, and I said, everything is blanked out. There are no acknowledgements. No one. It should be just you. You should be acknowledging yourself to be someone you want to be. So most of my works are basically a reflection of my own life journey. So there are works which will, and I mean, now that I openly talk about my life, which I can talk about in one work, but every moment has been a chapter which has made me happy, sad, I've cried. So my home is just, my artworks are a reflection of who I am. I don't look at, will they appreciate? I don't look at if I would be selling them tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, the way I sell it is what Devi has seen recently. I do a fundraiser to support the charity of dogs that I support. So rather than selling works of contemporary artists, I just say that please buy it, pay the money to the charity. My job is done. I have decluttered in a way. The dogs are happy, everyone's happy in the end. So that's how I also live my life. It's really romanticized. This is an artist called Arshi Irshad Ahmadzai. This is a fun story. I was working at MAP. I had a booth at the India Art Fair, and Arshi was one of the In Lakhs awardees, and her booth was right opposite on the other side. And I was standing at my booth all day long, and I was looking at her practice and said, hey, who's this girl? Who's the artist? Sorry, I didn't know she was a girl. And the moment I saw her work, I found something unique. Now, what do I look for in artwork? I don't know. It's honestly a sixth sense that say, hey, there's something happening here. Let's figure it out. So then usually what I do is I try to find the artists, meet them, understand them. And when people say, how do you decide if this is the artist? I said, I just want to know how weird they think in terms of, I don't want them to be thinking lateral. Do they think out of the box? Do they believe, where are they coming from? Because sometimes best art comes out of a lot of pain. Which you will see in artworks like in Mona Hatum and all, artworks which have basically regions which have gone through war and stuff like that. So this is Arshi, and this is Gumshuda Ki Talash. A lot of work since then. This is a fun story because I told her I want to buy her work, and she said, who are you? And I said, I'm Amit Jain, blah, blah, blah. And then she went to Chatterjee and Lal and said, hey, this is a guy called Amit Jain who wants to buy my work. She wanted that reference, which was interesting. And then next day she comes with a bori and plonks it in the India Art Fair booth where I was working. I said, it doesn't work like this. This is the marketplace and stuff. But I met her. I ended up buying a lot of work straight away because I just thought there was so much happening. And this is one artist who I have continued to collect in depth. So I usually also collect in depth till the time I can afford them. So for example, Yudhishthir's work I bought for 10,000 rupees, which will be a laughing thing now if you hear that you paid 10,000 bucks for that. Today, of course, the same work is selling at maybe 20x. But again, valuation doesn't matter for me because they're not for sale. It's as simple as that. So Arshi is one artist. Now, the third artist is Vishwa Shroff. Again, she was just coming into her own at the same period of time, 2014-ish, 15? And I had met, the gallerist was just also starting. She had just started a career. And then we were having a coffee in Delhi at the diner, and she said, hey, I have a new show coming up you want to see. The first work I see is this. And I said, I want it. And she said, no, I want it. I said, you're the gallerist. You need to sell it to people. And I got it was so cheap. That time it was so cheap. But it reminds me of my time in Bombay. So half my time has been spent in Bombay, and these kind of flaws remind me of my childhood home. So it's something that I had to live with in my life. It's my story of growing up. And so another thing, and Sobia, okay, I'll just speak about this, then I'll go back to that point. Or no, let me speak about that point before I forget. Best part is what you're seeing now are galleries who have basically grown at the same time I've grown as a collector. So basically, collectors usually respond to art of their times. You buy what you resonate with. A 25-year-old collector will not be they look at moderns, but they usually want to talk about, say, maybe what's happening in politics, what's happening with farmers' protests. I think those people, the younger guys are much more involved with that. Of course, we guys are also, but they will always buy works which they say, hey, I get that. So this is how I've been buying my works as well. The second point is, or did I say that already? This is where the old age is coming in, I guess, yeah. But maybe I'll come back to that. So this is Vishwa Shroff, again an artist I collected in depth. Sobia, I met her first in a so I go to most of the graduation shows. I call them my hunting grounds in a way because that's where you see and spot the talent. And I remember buying her work from her master's fine art degree show in Baroda. And since then, I ended up buying a lot every year, even though I would say she's been much slower in her career, but somehow art and text, as you can see, many of them has always kept me excited. But this is a story which I will tell you because you will realize how things always come back to you. So I chat with her once in a while, even though she's not an artist that I represent. She's represented by Tark, a Bombay-based gallery. And she said, Amit, I want to go to Fatehpur Sikri. And I said, go. Kaun sa dur hai? Baroda se get on a train to Agra, it's not that far. And she said, no, I'm not too sure, this and that, da, 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 da. And I said, why? Because she said, I love Nasreen. And Nasreen's photograph of Fatehpur Sikri is something that inspired her. She also got the Nasreen Mohammadi Award at the Faculty of Fine Arts, so there was a story. I said, listen, you're coming to India Art Fair? She said, yeah. I said, I'm giving you my car, just go to Fatehpur Sikri, chill and come back. She came, disappeared, nothing happened. And then after 6 months, there's a show at the gallery, and then there were new works by Sobia. And I picked this up. I said, I like this. And 22,000 rupees or something only. And I picked it up. And I sent a photo to Sobia. Sobia, I've got this. And she says, Amit, this is the first work I did when I came back for Fatehpur Sikri. And I'm saying, damn, it had to happen. The story had to end. The whole idea of going there, making some works and coming back. And I just didn't know this was the same series, but it came back to me. And for me, this is a special thing that finds on my wall because there's a story behind it. So next one. So this one is a young painter, works with Shrine Empire Gallery. Again, all these galleries are the galleries who are... Up tum ro. So, but all these galleries are the galleries who are celebrating the 15 years, pretty much back to back. And these are the galleries, I think this in my collecting career is over that 15 years where I bought. This I thought was extremely beautifully painted. An act of, you're vulnerable, you're going through your emotions, there are tears, we cry, all of us cry, some quietly, some publicly. And this is a time of my time that I was going through hell in my life. It's this big, it's small. But in the entire show, this is the work that really caught my eye. So size does not matter. What matters is the emotion behind the painting and how you, at that point of time in your life, resonate, connect, and decide to live with it. So this has been in the collection since then, and it reminds me of that time that really, I was struggling to find myself. I was in the really bottom of the rung of what you can call it. And there it is. Now, the next one, not because I'm at SRISHTI, but the reason is Arpan Sadhukan is the printmaker here, and the big one there. So when I saw his work, I'm a collector of prints. I mean, 90% of my collection is prints. And the moment I saw his work, and I said, this is the future of printmaking. Someone who has the bandwidth to do large works like those are extremely difficult to do that. And I was just taken away. The first emerging palette you did last year, that's when I saw him. And now he's at Triloka. And I think he, for me, is one of the most important printmakers of our time. And hopefully more and more people will look at his practice. Very political comments on what's happening. Printmakers are mad people. First of all, I always say that because why should anyone go through so much hell to make art? But they go all out because in this case, if you engrave the wrong line, it will come up. It's also always made in the negative, so how do you think negative? I can't even think straight. So when you look at all of that, I think this is really one of the most skilled artists of our time, and luckily he's well-read, he reads a lot, and it comes up in his works. It's not because of Lakshmi, but I think he's truly a good printmaker. The last work is something that I bought 3 days ago. So and I'm putting it there because I just bought it 3 days ago to show that and this is when I go through my art fast. I go to art fast every 6 months saying I'm out of money, but then you see something that you have to. And I just thought that the form here really caught my eye. If you look at something which is in most of a museum, there's something, is it an iron thing, which is also the logo of Intac, the metal figure, which is one of the earliest found metal figurative things in the world. And when I saw this, even though it talks about the farmer, the cultivator, I just thought the form which has existed for maybe 10,000 years is somehow related to this. But I don't collect terracotta because I have a dog at home and I know it will break eventually. But then I just couldn't say no to this, which is also moving away from my printmaking kind of a collection. But the simplicity of an idea, the organic structure, the way he's made, just caught my eye. So I have now moved into all forms. I have paintings, paperwork, prints, sculptures. So yeah, kind of that. But yeah, now I think the best thing is you will ask me questions later and I can answer most of them then.